Hello everybody, this is Randy Frazier with Modern Geek, Ancient Greek. This week I translated Ephesians chapter 4 verses 14 through 24, and I have just a few things to point out to you. The first thing that I'd like to point out to you is in verse 14. And I wanted to point out the different ways that the Apostle Paul approached the idea of a con artist, somebody trying to con somebody out of what they have. Let me read you my Randy's translation in verse 14. So that we might no longer be immature children, tossed by the waves and carried here and there by every wind of doctrine. And here's where the con terms come in. Through the treachery of people engaged in unscrupulous conduct, using the deviousness of seduction. So he uses four words there that have to do with conducting a con game, con artist. So the first one is treachery, and the Greek word is kubeia, and it's the word that we get our English word cube from. It means dice, cube, dice, and the idea in this is that using dice, a con artist would swindle people out of their money through weighted dice, through other ways of trickery. So I translated it treachery, through the treachery of people engaged in unscrupulous conduct. Unscrupulous conduct is the Greek word panorgia, and it just means that to do all kinds of work to try to take money from people, using the deviousness. Devious is methodeia, which we get our word method from. It means meta, against, odeon. The second half of the word means a road or traveling somewhere. So it's many ways to travel to try to take someone's money. And the word means trickery. And then the deviousness of seduction, planes, which means deceiving, trying to deceive somebody. So we have four words, kubeia. This is the only time that kubeia for dice is used in the New Testament. The second one is panorgia. It's only used 5 times in the New Testament. The second one is methodeia, which is only used 2 times in the New Testament. And then the last one is used quite a bit more, planes, and it's used 10 times in the New Testament. One of the things that I wanted to point out, this was hard for me to translate, and I really think I got it right, not because of what I did, but because of all of the resources that I consulted. I wasn't able to do this at all by myself. Cambridge Greek New Testament helped me out. Robertson Nichols, I think is the name. His Greek resources immensely helped me out. A.T. Robertson, I used his stuff, and I would have never, ever been able to have translated this on my own. The Apostle Paul was not afraid of using obscure terminology at all. For instance, kubeia. This is the only time in the New Testament that this is used. It apparently could not have been a familiar term. And other words, methodeia, is not a word that was even used in contemporary or classical Greek very much. In verse 15, but we, this is my translation again, but we, being authentic and true in love, might increase in every way into Him who is Christ the head. I don't know if this is right or wrong in translating, but I used two words for one word in the Greek, authentic and true, aletheontes. Now, aletheia is truth, but the word means to be authentic and to be true. And both of those ideas are included in that. And in translating, again, this is just me, I felt like both of those ideas needed to be in that. So I put being authentic and true in love. Now I want to go to the very last verse that I translated for my sermon today, and I'm fixing to preach that. I mean, I'm sitting here in the studio, I'm about to preach it. Verse 24, and you were to put upon yourselves the new person, which after God was created in righteousness and holiness of the truth. Now, holiness, this word for holiness is a word that's been used in the New Testament, I think 10 times is all that it's used. And normally for holy or holiness, hagios is the word holiness, hagiotes. And this indicates holiness as being a state of being. Another word translated holiness at times is the word that most of the time is translated righteousness, dikaiosune. And that is holiness as it applies to humanity. But the word that Paul used in this particular passage is hosiotes. Hosiotes. And that is the activity of being holy from God's perspective, not from man's perspective. Hagiotes is the state of being holy. Dikaiosune is holiness from righteousness from a human perspective, but this is hosiotes, and it is holiness from God's perspective. What do we do from God's perspective to be holy? Well, Paul says here in this particular passage that holiness to God is being truthful and honest, being genuine, being authentic. All of that is holy from God's perspective. Thank you so much for listening to my meanderings, my geeky meanderings from the Greek, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.